to all my lost boys. Shout to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout to all my lost boys. Shout to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout to all my lost boys. Shout to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shout to all my lost boys. Shout to all my lost boys. Bangarang.
Hello all. This bit of English literature help is based on the first theory as part of my course called the Lucifer Effect, and it's based off of Philip Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment conducted in 1971. In this video, I will talk a little bit about Zimbardo's experiment, and then you will watch a portion of his TED Talk from 2008, and then I will end the video by clarifying a few things as he speaks very quickly. So, first of all, the Lucifer Effect is based on the biblical story of Lucifer's fall from grace from Isaiah 14:12, where we understand that Lucifer was actually God's brightest angel and eventually is sent to hell when he has the urge to become God as opposed to obeying him. So the driving question for Philip Zimbardo is, what makes good people do bad things? Just like, how can Lucifer go from being in God's graces and then to becoming the epitome of evil? Secondly, the video begins with Zimbardo explaining 3 different ways that a person can do bad things, which is dispositional, situational, and systematic. So please take notes on those and pause the video if need be as he is explaining them. Quickly, I can explain them to you. Dispositional, this is when an individual is blamed for their actions with no relation to others. A good example is being late for class or acting a certain way because you were born that way, etc. There are no external factors for your behavior. The second is situational. This is when the individual acts based on the situation that they are in, environment or circumstance, and there can be external influences here like friends or family or even the weather. And the third one is systematic, and it's an interesting one. This is when an individual acts based on the system that has been set up for them, like school, government, or the law. Then afterwards, Zimbardo talks about his actual study called the Stanford Prison Experiment, where he took volunteer male university students, again this is back in the 70s, he made some of them prison guards and others prisoners, and as he will explain, he put them into a real prison setting and he recorded their actions. I will allow you to take notes on Zimbardo's findings, and then at the end of the video, I will hopefully clarify his study for you. Afterwards, Zimbardo then goes through the 7 steps to which he believes are the slippery slopes of evil, as he calls it. In other words, how evil can start small and grow worse over time. So please remember this, please take notes on it. Zimbardo then finishes with how we can become the hero in the face of evil and realize that a terrible situation can lead us towards evil or becoming heroic.
So how do psychologists go about understanding such transformations of human character if you believe that they were good soldiers before they went down to the dungeon? There are 3 ways. The main way is what's called dispositional. We look at what's inside of the person, the bad apples. This is the foundation of all of social science, the foundation of religion, the foundation of law. Social psychologists like me come along and say, yeah, people are the actors on the stage, but you'll have to be aware of what the situation is. Who are the cast of characters? What's the costume? Is there a stage director? And so we're interested in what are the external factors around the individual, the bad barrel. And social scientists stop there, and they miss the big point that I discovered when I became an expert with Robert Greb. The power is in the system. The system creates the situation that corrupts the individuals. The system is the legal, political, economic, cultural background, and this is where the power is of the bad barrel makers. So you want to change a person, you got to change the situation. You want to change the situation, you got to know where the power is in the system. So the Lucifer Effect involves understanding human character transformations with these 3 factors. And it's a dynamic interplay. What do the people bring into the situation? What does the situation bring out of them? And what is the system that creates and maintains that situation? So my book, The Lucifer Effect, recently published, is about how do you understand how good people turn evil, and it has a lot of detail about what I'm going to talk about today. So Dr. Z's Lucifer Effect, although it focuses on evil, really is a celebration of the human mind's infinite capacity to make any of us kind or cruel, caring or indifferent, creative or destructive, and it makes some of us villains. And the good news story that I'm going to hopefully come to at the end is it makes some of us heroes. So this study, which I did with my graduate students, especially Craig Haney, we also began with an ad. We didn't have money, so we had a cheap little ad, but we wanted college students for a study of prison life. 75 people volunteered, took personality tests, we did interviews, picked 24, most normal, most healthy, randomly assigned them to be prisoner guard. So on day one, we knew we had good apples. I'm going to put them in a bad situation. And secondly, we know there's no difference between the boys who are going to be guards, the boys who are going to be prisoners. The kids who are going to be prisoners, they said, wait at home in the dormitories, the study will begin Sunday. We didn't tell them that the city police were going to come and do realistic arrests. Here are the prisoners who are going to be dehumanized. They're going to become numbers. Here are the guards with the symbols of power and anonymity. Guards get prisoners to clean the toilet bowls out their bare hands, to do other humiliating tasks. They strip them naked. They sexually taunt them. They begin to do degrading activities, like having them simulate sodomy. You saw simulating fellatio in Soldiers in Abu Ghraib. My guards did it in 5 days. The stress reaction was so extreme that normal kids we picked because they're healthy had breakdowns within 36 hours. The study ended after 6 days because it was out of control. 5 kids had emotional breakdowns. So what are the 7 social processes that grease the slippery slope of evil? Mindlessly taking the first small step. Dehumanization of others. De-individuation of self. Diffusion of personal responsibility. Blind obedience to authority. Uncritical conformity to group norms. Passive tolerance of evil through inaction or indifference. And it happens when you're in a new or unfamiliar situation. Your habitual response patterns don't work. Your personality and morality are disengaged. So I want to end very quickly on a positive note. Heroism as the antidote to evil. By promoting the heroic imagination, especially in our kids, in our educational system, we want kids to think, I'm a hero in waiting for the right situation to come along, and I will act heroically, obviously. So situations have the power to do the same, but the point is, it's the same situation that can inflame the hostile imagination in some of us that makes us perpetrators of evil, can inspire the heroic imagination in others. It's the same situation, and you're on one side or the other. Most people are guilty of the evil of inaction because your mother says, don't get involved, mind your own business. And you have to say, Mama, humanity is my business.
So, as you heard from his experiment, it only took like 6 days before the study had to be stopped because these regular, good university boys who were in the position of guard began to abuse their power. So the question is, why did these good boys make the prisoners do these bad things? Was it dispositional, situational, or systematic? The answer? Well, likely situational. The boys playing guard were put into a situation of power and were likely influenced by each other. And don't forget the slippery slope. All it takes is one individual to make that first inappropriate step for others to follow. Remember that for Unit 2. One individual is all it takes. None of the other boys playing guard stepped in to stop the others. They were all either participating or being bystanders. So, was that a unique situation, or are people really like that? At the end of all of this, Zimbardo tries to make us understand that yes, the focus is on evil, but then how can we overcome it by being the heroes in our own way? Part of that is developing a strong moral line. For example, with bullying, if we see it take place, we have the choice to be a bystander and be guilty by association, or to step in and stop it. As I will keep repeating throughout this entire course, we all have the ability within us to do bad or evil things, but we also have the capability for a lot of good too.